I hate to be a bit of a dream crusher here, but it's very likely that Teslas are not going to be utilizing the StarLink internet network, which, in case you guys weren't aware of, is a really cool program SpaceX is developing. Essentially, they've launched hundreds and hundreds, close to 1,000 StarLink satellites up into low Earth orbit, and it's satellite internet done right. And the main purpose of StarLink is to bring reliable, low latency internet to people who don't have it. Elon Musk has answered lots of questions about it in earnings calls and conferences, and he's been pretty adamant about it in the past that it's not meant to replace gigabit fiber optic home internet. And if you live in a place with fiber optic internet, or you live in a dense populated city, that's pretty much not what StarLink is for. It's really more for targeting more rural communities or bringing internet to a lot of countries and a lot of places that don't have adequate infrastructure. And it's very easy in today's age to assume that, yeah, we're all connected, we all have the internet, but there's still over 3 billion people on Earth that do not have internet access, and StarLink should make it very, very achievable to bring that internet to communities who need it. And because a lot of people who follow Tesla are also people that like to follow SpaceX, I'm a big fan as well, a lot of people have just made the assumption that there's going to be a bit of a collab here, and Tesla vehicles won't need to use traditional carriers anymore because they'll be able to fall back on the StarLink network. But sadly, there is a lot of issues with that. And the main reason I'm making this video is because on my last video about Tesla connectivity upgrades we could be getting in the future, it was like every other comment, everyone just kept saying, why won't they just use StarLink, or they're probably going to just tap into StarLink and that will be their internet access in the future. Well, satellite internet is a bit more picky than internet carriers like 4G and 5G, which basically send out radio frequencies in all directions, and that's how Teslas have internet on the go right now. But StarLink requires a dish, a UFO looking thing on a stick, and it does have to be in line of sight of the sky and communicating and tracking with multiple different satellites in order for it to work properly. And currently there's not really a way to miniaturize that Starlink tech and just start slapping it into cars or other products. I agree, it would be cool, it would be amazing if they found a way that you didn't even need that dish on top of your house, or found a way to incorporate that antenna into the vehicle, but even with this latest generation technology, there doesn't appear to be a way to do that. So obviously you can retrofit a Starlink dish on the top of your Tesla. In fact, I've already seen some people in the Starlink beta program already doing this themselves and trying to get internet on the go. But first of all, it doesn't help with performance very much if the car is constantly moving around, especially if there's any type of obstruction between where the dish sits and where the satellites are. So that means that if you're driving in a place with trees, the trees could interfere with your internet signal, or of course driving under a bridge or going through the Boring Company tunnel. Though I guess carriers probably couldn't maintain a signal in a Boring Company tunnel anyway, but Starlink absolutely would not work underground. Or if you're in a place with taller buildings and just in a city and stuff like that, the internet would immediately get interrupted if you were just relying on Starlink. And that's assuming they found a way to incorporate the dish into the vehicle. Chances are they probably won't, and if you want Starlink powering your Tesla's internet, your best bet is probably going to be when you're parked. Maybe if you're going camping somewhere and you're camping in a place that doesn't have a lot of trees and you have a clear sight of the sky, then you could maybe pop out the Starlink dish, slap it on the roof, and power the internet when you're parked and charging. And, you know, I could maybe see it being somewhat of a crossover if Tesla is building superchargers in different places that don't have great internet, and maybe they want to provide free Wi-Fi to Teslas who are charging there. Perhaps throwing up a Starlink dish on some superchargers, again, probably not very much on cities or any superchargers with lots of solar panels, because that would interfere with the connection. So for those reasons, I don't ever see Starlink being the replacement for internet carriers or 5G on Tesla's vehicles. At very, very best, they might become an option someday if they find a way to miniaturize that dish. Again, currently, I have no clue how that would even be possible. But Elon likes to do the impossible too, though I will admit, just replacing internet carrier services for Tesla's infotainment system with Starlink, I don't think that's high on Elon's priority list. I think he mainly wants to focus on getting to Mars and allow himself to age better with technologies like Neuralink. I think those are more high priority to him. So personally, I think Teslas are going to keep relying on the same internet services that our phones do with cellular connectivity, and that honestly is the best way to go. It's probably way cheaper to develop that way, and Tesla doesn't have to radically rethink the dish for the StarLink terminal, because at the end of the day, the purpose of StarLink is bringing internet to those who need it, and Tesla vehicles and browsing the web or watching videos in the Tesla is not as crucial as bringing internet to those who have no good infrastructure. I get it, it would be totally cool. I can see why people think this would be amazing, but in real life, it wouldn't help that much, for one, because the Starlink internet would likely not be much faster than what the 4G and 5G carriers have to offer, and it would also not be as stable because, again, any interference with just a semi driving by you that could interfere with where the satellites are above you, it would be so easily interrupted, and because the car's normally in motion, it would not be very fast. So for all of these reasons put together, that's why you should not expect Starlink support to come to Teslas anytime soon, unless, of course, you're willing to do it yourself and strap a Starlink dish on top of your Tesla, but that might throw off your aerodynamics a little bit, and I imagine the internet is probably not even going to be much better than what is already offered through the typical 4G and 5G carriers. I would love to be proven wrong, though. If you think that there is some hope for Starlink support coming to Teslas, feel free to prove me wrong in the comments below, but I'm just basing today's video off of what Elon has said, what the limitations of the technology are, and I don't want people having unrealistic expectations. I just want us to have realistic views of what technology is currently capable of. So thank you all for watching. I'm a big fan of Tesla and SpaceX, so even though they can't really make this collab work out great, I still think they're awesome companies. I appreciate you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.